Good morning and welcome to day 2 here at SMTA. The day's getting off to a brisk start. There's a fun run at 7 o'clock this morning, which I am not taking part in. But the day is going to be busy with a lot of sessions at the conference, of course, and the afternoon is pretty much dedicated to the younger members of our community. We've got different things, a beer tasting contest at 3 o'clock this afternoon, which I think essentially means the show will be ending then. So joining me as my first guest today is Mike Skinner, our media sponsor and partner from US Tech. And nice to see you again, Mike.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So it's a great time to be in the industry. We've got some figures through this morning from Walt Custer, basically saying that in the month of August, we've got PCB growth up 12%, semiconductors up 15%, and capital equipment up 12%.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's a reflection of how healthy the American economy is right now.
Yeah, the American economy seems to be outstripping the rest at the moment. In actual fact, the signs are that there's a decrease in manufacturing and business in China, but it's going to mostly to Vietnam, Philippines, places like that. But some of it coming to Mexico. Mexico's definitely on the increase. What do you make of that?
I think it makes sense. I think because as China's economy is getting stronger and their middle class is growing, it's becoming less of a long-term manufacturing option to move factories there. And in a sense, I mean, maybe the market's not saturated, but it's just becoming too expensive. And people are, like you said, they're moving to Southeast Asia, moving to Vietnam. And now, because of this tariff situation, we have some people even moving, facilities back to the U.S. or to Mexico so they can avoid these tariffs on transporting their goods.
Yeah. One of the trends I'm hearing is that because all your components essentially come out of China, instead of bringing them straight to the United States and getting taxed each time they come in, they're sending them to Mexico, which is a free trade agreement basically with China, and doing final assembly there, and then just bringing the goods across, the finished goods across once into the U.S.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's ingenuity. It's capitalism.
It is, because I'm not quite sure if that was Donald Trump's plan. I think he's shooting himself in the foot with that one, but it's interesting the way that it's working out. That's for sure.
And I think it's also the sentiment here is that they're just kind of, it's up in the air. We're not sure if it's going to be like a short-term thing, if this is going to last 4 or 5 months until he gets some concessions from the Chinese government and he says, okay, now we're buddies again and we'll take the tariffs off.
Yeah, and strangely enough, I mean, normally that kind of indecision results in people putting a hold on budgets and projects and this type of thing, but it doesn't seem to have slowed the industry down much.
It doesn't really, and I saw about 2 months ago there was a study that was done that showed even on, not just in the electronics, the tariffs on the electronics coming into the U.S., but the $200 billion worth of goods, that whole number, that the average cost of a product in America would go up by about 6 cents.
Right.
They said.
Right.
And it does seem, too, that on this end of the deal, America is going to get the better end of the deal with this economic, I mean, if it's a trade war.
It's certainly looking that way. So let's turn our attention to the show floor here. I mean, what have you seen going around the show floor?
Some interesting things. Yeah, not a lot of new technology, new releases as far as equipment, but a lot of new developments in software. Here, they had a meeting at the beginning of the week about the CFX, IPC CFX, and they're expecting that it will be standardized by December, which is a good move because I think especially for like the tier 3 and below size companies, they are going to benefit the most from a standard like CFX.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it would be somewhat easy for them to implement. It's a protocol that they can all use. I think the big guys, the biggest companies are all going to still have the resource to make their own in-house protocols, and they will be the last to adopt it, I would assume.
Well, a lot of them are still signed up to SexGen. And SexGen and Jara seem to be the one option for some of the bigger boys, and the CFX and has teamed up with the Hermes standard. They've incorporated the Hermes standard into CFX. So that's the other option. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be too.
Yeah, so that's it. So I guess the next big show for you is going to be
Electronica.
Electronica
will be the next big one.
Yep. Okay, good. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us today. So our next guest coming up after the break is going to be Paul Smith and Keith Bryant from Comet Group Lab 1. And welcome back. A lot of the discussions this week have been around the subject of smart factory and 4.0. And metrology is at the key of the center of all of that. I'm joined today by two experts from that area, from YXLON. We have, to my left, we have Keith Bryant, the Global Sales Director, and to my right, we have Paul Smith from Comet Lab 1. Welcome, gentlemen. Let's start off talking, first of all, about the FF35, Keith. You won the award last night for metrology for that. How does that compare to a regular X-ray machine?
Okay, well, regular X-ray machines are really what, to give them their full name, would be an X-ray microscope. So they're not based around very accurate measurement. The FF35 and the FF20 metrology from YXLON take us a step away from there. They're actually metrology systems, so they're able to make very accurate, repeatable measurements. This allows us to do a whole load of things that we couldn't do before. Accurate, repeatable measurements. We have software that allows us to compare what the real-time measurements that we're getting to the accurate measurements that we should get from CAD data, from all of these things. So they actually allow us now to do design checks and to do very accurate measurements, which generally with an X-ray you're not able to do for internal features. So now we can do really accurate measurements of internal features within assemblies. We can compare that back to the design data. We can set specific limits for what is acceptable, and we can measure a whole range of products to that specification.
Right, okay. And of course all of that feeds back into the MES system or CFX or whatever system they have in the factory. But looking at it as a system, how affordable is a system like an FF35?
Well, the FF35 systems are, for the metrology performance, they're outstanding value for the product and its performance, including the speed of measurement.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, are they in the price range of a tier 2, tier 3 manufacturer, or is this something that it's so specialized and expensive that it's really only affordable by the tier 1s?
It's certainly affordable by the tier 1s, but as technology continues to shrink and to be the requirements demand greater accuracy, I think the tier 2s and the tier 3s will need to look at more advanced metrology systems to solve their problems and ensure their productivity.
Right. So currently, they can do that as a service-based operation with Lab 1. Is that correct?
Yes. In Lab 1, we have the FF35 metrology system, and we have the Cheetah Evo for Smart Factory, and both of those products are accessible in Lab 1 for trial.
Right. Okay. And do you have similar systems over in other parts of the world to do this?
We're putting the metrology systems into all of the key areas where predominantly the semiconductor within our industry. That's where the really accurate, repeatable measurements are needing to come in. So we're putting machines across into all of our demo centers. Obviously, Lab 1 is our flagship over here in the US, so that's the first place that we get it into. And obviously, being based in Silicon Valley, it's the ideal place for people who have a need for checking their new product introduction, their development products. We encourage them, bring them into Lab 1, have a look, see what the systems are capable of doing. And then, if you're a tier 1 and you have the budget, please buy one. Yeah. And if you're not, please bring whatever you need to do in, and we'll just do it as a paid service.
Right, okay. Well, that seems to make a lot of sense, but what other services on the inspection side can you offer at Lab 1?
Well, at Lab 1, most of the inspection, all of the inspection is done on the FF35 or the Cheetah Evo. Those are the two prime systems that we have in place there. We have other technologies related to E-beam and RF plasma, but they're not really in an inspection service space. What we do with the customers when they come in, and we preload the demo for inspection services. What are they looking for? What kind of defects? What size is their material or substrate, their working material, and then we design the test and the inspection around finding exactly what they know and what they don't know about the problems.
Right.
And this is where our application engineering team comes in and really works closely with the customer, either on the phone or in person.
Right.
So you can ship the samples in, and just we work through and we find the right images. And then when metrology is critical, this only happens in the FF35, and that inspection is very dependent on the calibration and on the samples and what the customers are looking for.
Right.
And that's really where you need our applications expertise to come in.
Right, right. Keith, you also have some other collaborations in there with specifically with Murtec, which combines AOI and SPI inspection with X-ray. Can you tell a little bit about that service?
Yeah, and again, Lab 1 is the perfect venue to be currently the first global showroom for the technology that we call Smart Loop, which is linking the state-of-the-art Murtec SPI, the state-of-the-art 3D AOI, together with our Cheetah Evo.
Right.
The main reason for doing this is yield is key now for everybody in production, and if you can save a couple of points of yield, it's the difference between sometimes making a profit and not making a profit. Mm-hmm. So the problem that you have now, 3D AOI, it's great technology, it's a great system, it's able to check most of the things, but it's still basically a vision system. So if you can't see it with your eye, you can't see it with 3D AOI. Right. So you can't look under what we call the bottom terminated devices, the BGAs, the QFNs, the direct chip mounting on boards. So what we do is we use the 3D AOI to measure the lack of coplanarity or the warp or whatever. And anything which falls outside a certain limit goes straight to the Cheetah Evo. We have all the data from the machine, so we just scan the barcode, close the door, the machine goes to where the fault is. The operator can then look from an angle, zoom in, do whatever they need to actually check the joints, which the inline system can't do. Then the operator decides good or bad, categorizes the fault. The board either goes into the good pile or the rework or the scrap pile, but more importantly, that data goes back to the management information system, whatever it may be, Intelisys if it's a Murtec system, or V1 or whatever the company is using. And now they have root cause analysis of what the failure was. Right. Rather than just we rejected this board because the component was warped, we know now whether it was an open circuit, whether there was a component trapped underneath it, or in some cases it was warped but all the joints were good. Therefore, we can change the limits that we're inspecting to in our inline system, and we continually can improve our process and improve our yield and first pass yield by monitoring that feedback.
Yeah. And I think the other big gain here is that the AOI inspection and SPI is a relatively fast process. X-ray is a relatively slow process. So basically the vision systems do all the hard work, the complete scan, and only focus on the area of interest. So it makes it more efficient, basically.
That's it in a nutshell, Trevor. You use the X-ray to inspect the things that you need to inspect, that you need to know are they good or bad. And we've done a couple of trials already with major global manufacturers. One of them has taken his first pass yield from 90 up to 99.5, and that's a huge step, and there are a lot of happy smiles. And we have other people who are using it to categorize their process more in NPI than through production. Right. But you're exactly right, because the inline machines keep up. The first trial that we did, we were checking about one board in every 30 something that went through the production. So, when you're making thousands and thousands, it's still a number, but the machine is well able to keep up with that and also do an AQL inspection on the stuff coming off the line as well. So yeah, it's about balancing the technologies and the capabilities.
That's great. And of course you can demonstrate and show all these services also at Lab 1.
Yes, but I think also Lab 1 is an access point. The manufacturers want to know, what is Smart Loop? How does it work for me? How would I implement it? And they can come in and ask those questions and learn from it. Not even just in defects. How do I implement it in my factory?
Yeah.
What are the tools? Who are my best partners? And this is what our collaboration with MearTech and YXLON is intended to show and provide access into that.
Yeah, that's a very good
learning.
point. Because a lot of people still don't really understand
That's correct.
how to implement these things. Gentlemen, it's been fascinating talking about it. Great subject. We're going to obviously be discussing more about it as the technology develops and goes forward. But thank you for joining me today.
Always a pleasure, Trevor. Thank you.
That wraps it up for here at SMTA this week. It's been a wonderful week. We've got lots of really good footage that we'll be showing you over the coming weeks. So make sure and keep tuned to Global SMT TV. For now, this is Trevor Galbraith saying thank you for joining us.